Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Kudos for handling this dude calmly, OP. I'd have been fuming if I were you. Self-righteous customers are the worst. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Tales from the Bakery Cafe, Breakfast Guy. I've been working in customer service since my first job 5.5 years ago. For the past 2 years, I've been working at a popular bakery cafe chain. At this particular chain, we have different breakfast times for weekdays and weekends. I suppose for a customer it can be sort of hard to remember, but we post the hours on the menu board with the breakfast items, which of course no one bothers to read. We even hold breakfast at least 30 minutes longer than it says on the board on weekends, but there's just no pleasing some people. Like this guy. Let's call him Angry Breakfast Guy, or ABG. A little backstory for clarification, we sell breakfast soufflés, which are super popular. They're prepped at night by our overnight baking staff, and we bake them off as needed throughout the morning. So we have pretty much a finite supply of them for the day. They'll try to prep more for weekends, but sometimes we do get busy enough that we run out 30 minutes to an hour before breakfast ends, which sucks because they're so popular. Anyway, ABG comes in on a weekday, is greeted, and starts looking at the case that all the pastries and in-the-morning soufflés are behind. The hot plate that we normally keep soufflés on is empty as we run out for the day. ABG, do you guys have any more of the bacon soufflés? Me, no sir, unfortunately we've sold out of them. ABG, well, are you gonna have any more? Me, no, we actually don't have any more for today. ABG, seriously? Me, yeah, sorry about that. ABG looks at me like I'm lying, and I'm actually holding one in my pocket that I just don't want him to have. Me, getting uncomfortable and want to get his transaction finished so he can go. Is there anything else I can get you today? This customer is somewhat of a regular, and I remember what pastry he likes, however he usually comes in on weekends. This is important. I suggest the pastry he usually gets, but he declines. ABG, well, I guess I'll just get a boring old breakfast sandwich. Give me a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. Starts taking out money to pay. Me. Unfortunately, breakfast is over, so we're not serving breakfast sandwiches anymore today. ABG. Are you kidding me? It's not even 11. Breakfast is supposed to be until 11:30 or something like that. Me. Well, on the weekends we run it until about 11:30, but during the week it stops earlier, at 10:30. This is where it can get confusing because we can have soufflés after breakfast ends. We can hold them on the table until we run out or they expire, as we can only hold cooked eggs for a certain amount of time. ABG stares at me like I'm saying no because I want to hoard all the breakfast for my own personal feast. Damn, man, that's messed up. Well then, fine. Since you can't give me breakfast, I'll have a lunch sandwich. We finish up the order and he leaves. Well, that weekend he comes back and remembers that I was the one who denied him his precious breakfast days ago. On this particular day, we still have breakfast sandwiches, but have run out of soufflés because it was an insanely busy morning. ABG, y'all got any bacon soufflés today? Checks watch. You should, it's still breakfast time, isn't it? Smug smile. Me, you're right, but unfortunately we've sold out of them this morning. ABG, this is ridiculous. That's the same thing you told me last time. Me, I know, I'm sorry about that, but we've been especially busy. You could always call ahead and have us hold one for you. ABG, dismissive wave. Nah, whatever. Just give me the tired old bacon, egg, and cheese. Me. Sure, anything else? ABG. Yeah, y'all get any more of those pastries? Proceeds to describe the pastry he usually gets. Me. Oh, you mean the pastry name? ABG, angrily. No. Goes over to look for it. It's the same thing I just said. I'm annoyed at this point, but complete his order, but it's not over. Shortly after this, I go to take my break, so I get my food and find somewhere in the dining room to sit because there's not really anywhere for us to eat in the back. Well, this guy happens to see me. ABG, don't you know you shouldn't be taking up the good seats for customers? Me, excuse me? ABG, you have one of the best seats in here. I really don't, just a regular table. You should leave the good seats for the customers. Me, sure. ABG looks at my plate. Well, enjoy your breakfast, in a rude tone. And then I did enjoy my breakfast. And our second story. The Sleazy Jerk and My Associate. This happened last week, and I'm still incredibly pissed about it. Before I even get started, I'd like the readers to know that our DM, corporate, and mall security have all been alerted. I couldn't ban the guy from the mall, but I did try. A bit of background info. Our past SM was recently transferred, and we got a new one. The new one lasted 3 weeks until she did something stupid, so now we're down to just me as the assistant manager and 2 key holders, with our previous SM and other managers rotating from other stores to help out. Because of this, I've been living at the store for almost a month. I'm working 10 to 12-hour shifts and have zero tolerance for any tomfoolery. This happened last week, 2 days before Christmas. We just got a huge shipment, about 200 boxes when our normal holiday allotment is about 100. We have a small store. I have 3 closing associates, 2 guys that I typically use for floor moves or pushing out shipment, and 1 girl who's helping me in the front of the store. All 3 of my associates are under 20. I'm much older. Well, not that much, but you get the point. It's about 20 minutes until closing, and we're desperately trying to refresh product on the floor and get out in a decent amount of time. I'm ready and closing paperwork and getting the registers ready, and my associates in the front are pulling product from underneath and straightening up. In walks this guy. He's in his 40s, which makes him about 5 years older than me. He's wearing a business suit and not carrying any bags. He immediately heads to my associate, and she smiles and asks him questions about what he's looking for. I'm finishing paperwork, but keeping an eye on them. I notice he's talking more, and she's very quiet and backing up against the cabinet. I give it another minute, and she begins to look stricken, so I come up to introduce myself. Me, good evening, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt, but Carrie, not her name, you have a phone call in the back. Carrie looks relieved and begins to walk away, and the guy blocks her with his body. Him, I know Carrie from her other job. She's such a good bartender. I have insane alarm bells going off in my head. Luckily, we have headsets, and I ask the 2 guys from the back to come out to the floor. Me, oh really? That's nice. Well, what can I help you find today, sir? Carrie slides around him and goes back to the registers. He's now stuck with me. The guy doesn't look as happy. He hems and haws over a couple of products and then asks to look around. I remind him that we're closing in 10 minutes. I step back to the registers and keep myself between him looking around and Carrie standing behind the registers. Also now on the floor are my 2 floor moves associates, very tall young men who look tougher than they are, but I want multiple witnesses. The guy finally decides on some gift sets and comes up. I move to ring him out. He smiles and asks if Carrie can. I smile back and said Carrie hadn't been trained. I lied, but whatever. As I ring him up, he continues to stare at her. Him, hey Carrie, when are you working next? I'd love to come by. Me, have a good night, sir. We're now closing. Him, we're just talking. Me, sir, we're now closing. I'm the manager on duty at this location, and I'm sorry, but you need to leave. Before I or the 2 guys could react, this guy reaches around me to try and pat her arm. She recoils, and I'm 100% done. I turn, ask one of the other associates to call security. Jerk hightailed it out of there before the phone could connect to the security office. I got the story out of Carrie after I lowered the gate. This guy had been bothering her at her other job as a server, constantly asking her for her number. Her manager there had finally told him he was banned from the establishment. She was not the only server he was overly friendly toward. Since I only had our words and no camera footage, security can't ban him. However, I did have security escort all 4 of us to our cars that night, and I've made sure that Carrie has the option of an escort to her car whenever she works. Nicely done. Recognizing a problem situation and handling it in the way you did. And our last story. Right-of-way through property. I'm posting this on behalf of my dad who lives in West Virginia. For some background, in 2009, he bought a piece of property that's about 90-odd acres. The land was relatively undeveloped, save for a couple of logging roads at the front entrance. The land's roughly a trapezoidal shape, with the most narrow portion being up against the road for about 100 yards. The only clear entrance is there, as the other 3 sides border other properties. When purchasing the property, my dad had the survey updated and gathered a local terrain map. After a lot of digging, my dad found the owners of the surrounding properties, 4 in total, and contacted them to let them know about the purchase and the updated property lines. The surveyors, or whoever thoroughly marked everything with stakes and orange tags. 2 of the properties are pretty much vacant and are used for ATV trails. The other 2 have homes on them. Over the years, my dad has slowly worked on clearing ATV trails and whatnot and actually built a home that was finished in 2018. While clearing brush in 2015ish, he found a deer feeder and a game camera in an old hayfield in the north corner. He duct taped signs to both saying to remove the feeder and camera or he'll destroy them. Both the feeder and camera were moved about 20 yards but still within my dad's property. Since they were there, my dad trashed the deer feeder, it was a plastic homemade set, and pitched the camera. A few weeks after, the owner of the camera and feeder, a neighbor named John, threatened my cousin with a handgun. My cousin was there, with permission from my dad, in blaze orange, riding the cleared trails on his ATV. Cousin called the cops for trespassing and the threat. The cops removed John and he spent the night in jail. Since then, things have been extremely sour with John and his son who live on the adjacent property. Despite this, we have evidence that John has been on and used my dad's property until my dad formally moved on the property in 2018. Now to the meat of the problem. John contacted my father, informing him that he, John, will be filing for a right-of-way through the property once his own home is built. According to the information my dad had from the purchase, John owns the property parallel to my dad's with access to the road. While digging around, my dad found that John separated his property in two last year, early 2019, and sold the lower portion, the piece adjacent to the road, to his son. My dad mapped out that the right-of-way trail road would cut off the hayfield and join to his private driveway 50 yards from his, my dad's, home. He's done all this to have privacy and seclusion, and now someone's trying to put a road right through the almost middle? Update. My father needed a lawyer. There was never a road or any easement on my father's title for John, and John had access to his property through the road and then subdivided it, leaving no access. He blocked himself off. The judge made him put an easement on his son's property where the former road and access is. My father should keep a lock on his driveway gate and never allow John to use it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.